Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a world where everything, every city, every system that runs our lives just collapses in minutes.
Yeah, and what if that wasn't just, science fiction? What if it was real? A scenario that's actually been planned out.
That's what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
The really stark, immediate, devastating reality of nuclear war.
We're looking at Annie Jacobsen's book, Nuclear War, a Scenario. It's incredibly researched, not just theory. It's a minute-by-minute breakdown of a hypothetical exchange.
Based on interviews, right, with officials.
Exactly. High-level officials, declassified information. It paints this picture that's, chillingly detailed and disturbingly plausible.
In this deep dive, like the analyses we do on our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, uses AI book analysis. The whole point is to spark reflection, rational thought.
Right.
Our mission is always to pull out the key insights from these complex, sometimes really overwhelming books. We want you, the listener, to get a clear understanding without getting buried in data. Those kind of aha moments, hopefully in a way that feels like a conversation. So, the book, it doesn't ease you in, does it?
Not at all. Straight into it. A bolt out of the blue attack.
No slow buildup, no diplomatic fumble. Just bang, an unwarned strike. And this is where it gets really interesting, how fast it all unravels.
That's exactly it. Jacobsen starts right there. The scenario kicks off with a 1 megaton thermonuclear bomb hitting Washington, D.C.
1 megaton. How does that compare to, say, Hiroshima?
Well, Hiroshima was about 15 kilotons. So this is more than 65 times bigger. It's massive.
Wow.
And as former Assistant Secretary of Defense Andrew Weber said, this bolt-out-of-the-blue attack against D.C. is what everyone in D.C. fears most, because it's unwarned, it's large-scale.
Designed to trigger a bigger war.
Precisely. What they call an Armageddon-like general nuclear war. General Robert Kaler, former STRATCOM commander, put it starkly, the world could end in the next couple of hours. And the book is really clear on this. There's no such thing as a small nuclear war. Once it starts, climbing back down that ladder, it's almost impossible.
It's hard to even imagine the physical blast.
Yeah.
The fireball, the shock front, the speed, the power. What actually happens in those first few seconds?
The scale of destruction right at the start is fascinating in a horrifying way. The blast creates this 3-mile radius shock front.
3 miles?
Yeah, with winds of several hundred miles per hour, sustained winds.
Several hundred. That's way beyond any hurricane, right?
Oh, absolutely. Hurricane Sandy was about 80-mile-per-hour winds. The highest ever recorded on Earth was 253 mile per hour. This is winds that just disintegrate buildings, monuments, whole blocks turn to dust.
Instantly.
Pretty much. And within 60 seconds, you get the mushroom cloud. That iconic, terrifying image. It shoots up 5-10 miles high, then stretches out 10, 20, 30 miles across.
And it's spewing radioactive material.
A witch's brew of radioactive products, as Carl Sagan called it. The book states it very bluntly. More than 1 million people are dead or dying, and less than 2 minutes have passed. It's just overwhelming, instant catastrophe.
And that's just the blast itself. Then comes the fire, right? The book talks about a mega inferno.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not just scattered fires, a citywide firestorm.
How does that even start?
Well, the blast breaks gas lines, causing huge explosions. Chemical factories rupture, adding fuel. And think about all the pilot lights in homes and buildings. They act like little torchlighters, setting everything off.
So everything combustible just goes up.
Everything. The book describes people trapped, burning. It's a firestorm so big it creates its own weather, sucking in oxygen, a vortex of flame, completely unstoppable. It shows how the initial event triggers these cascading effects, turning a city into,
It's just sobering to try and picture that. So, okay, what does this mean? How did we even get here? How did planning for this kind of scenario become, a thing?
That's the big question, isn't it? The book jumps back, way back to December 1960, to a secret meeting at U.S. Strategic Air Command headquarters in Nebraska.
What happened there?
They had this huge map, the big board, showing the Soviet Union and China, and airmen literally used step ladders and plastic overlays to show how Moscow and other places would be even further obliterated, wave after wave.
So it wasn't abstract for them. It was a literal plan.
A blueprint. They showed B-52 bombers carrying multiple H-bombs. Each one, the book says, capable of 4,000 times more explosive power than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
4,000 times. Hiroshima killed over 80,000 people with a 15-kiloton bomb. Nagasaki ended World War II. It's just mind-boggling.
It is. And the book tracks how fast the weapon building ramped up after the war. The U.S. had 13 bombs in 47, then a 170 by 49.
And then Russia got the bomb.
August 49, yeah, thanks to stolen plans. That just poured fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
The process became truly industrialized. 841 U.S. bombs by 52. Over 1,700 by 54. That's like 1.5 bombs being made every day.
Every day.
It peaked in 1967 at 31,255 U.S. nuclear bombs.
31,000.
Which leads to the book's really stark question. Why? Why stockpile thousands, tens of thousands, when just one could kill maybe 10 million people?
That question, the why,
Yeah.
it hits at the core of this whole deterrence idea, doesn't it? This sort of more is better logic seems broken.
Yeah, the book really digs into that paradox. Jacobsen suggests it wasn't just rational defense, it became this kind of strategic madness. Fear drove it, this tit-for-tat race, build more than the other guy, even if it didn't actually add much more real destructive power.
It was about perception.
Number.
Perceived power, yeah.
Yeah.
The psychology of overwhelming numbers, even if those numbers didn't really grasp the true nature of nuclear war. And all this buildup led to the SIOP.
The Single Integrated Operational Plan.
Right. America's master plan for nuclear war, targets, responses, sequences. It's updated now. It's called OPLAN 80-10-12. But the concept originated then.
And the plan back then. What were the projected casualties?
That 1960 briefing calculated 600 million dead.
600 million, including 300 million Chinese, just from fallout. Which raises a really important question the book explores. Was there any pushback, any dissent against this?
You'd hope so.
There was. General David Shoup, Commandant of the Marine Corps at the time, he stood up in that meeting, said, any plan that murders 300 million Chinese when it might not even be their war is not a good plan. That is not the American way.
What was the reaction?
The book says there was just silence, complete silence in the room. And later, another official, John Rubel, reflected that the whole plan reminded him of the Nazis' Wannsee Conference.
Wow. That's a heavy comparison.
It shows that even within that Cold War strategy mindset, the sheer scale of it, the inhumanity, struck some people as fundamentally wrong.
That history is so important for context. Okay, let's bring it back to the book's present-day scenario.
Yeah.
North Korea launches its monster ICBM, the Hwasong-17. The stakes feel even higher now, with more countries involved.
For sure. The book lays out the sequence precisely. Starts with a blip on radar, then the SBIR satellite space-based infrared systems detect the launch instantly.
And everything goes on high alert.
NORAD, Northcom, Stratcom, they all go into this acute state of heightened alert. Colonel John Brunderman from NORAD talks about the fog and friction of war, the chaos, the uncertainty, even with all the tech.
How fast does confirmation come?
Within 30 seconds, the nuclear launch alert is screaming through Cheyenne Mountain. The missile is confirmed. Trajectory, U.S. East Coast.
Leaving the president with almost no time. An impossible choice. What does the book say about that window?
It's terrifyingly small. The launch on warning policy dictates it. The president gets 6 minutes.
6 minutes to decide everything.
6 minutes to decide which nuclear weapons to use, which targets to hit and return. Dr. Bruce Blair, the expert, called it flat out ridiculous, a 6-minute deadline.
And presidents might not even fully understand the plan.
Blair notes are often entirely underinformed about actually waging nuclear war. Imagine making that kind of irreversible decision under that pressure with incomplete understanding.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. Missile defense. People might think we have this shield, but the book suggests otherwise.
Yeah, what's fascinating and frankly scary is how the book shows the reality. It's like shooting a bullet with a bullet, intercepting an ICBM coming in at hypersonic speed.
What are the odds?
The book estimates maybe a 55% chance of shooting down one Hwasong-17. Just 55%. And think about the numbers. The U.S. has 44 interceptors for the whole continental U.S. against a limited attack.
44 total.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to how many potential incoming missiles?
Well, Russia has over 1,600 deployed nukes. China, over 500. North Korea, maybe 50. Those 44 interceptors they're easily overwhelmed.
And in the book scenario,
all 4 interceptors fired fail. It just highlights how precarious that defense really is. Technology has limits against this kind of threat.
And the destruction isn't just the blast zone, is it? The book talks about these ripple effects,
Yeah.
cascading infrastructure failure.
Right. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, a huge factor is the EMP, the electromagnetic pulse.
From a high-altitude detonation.
Exactly. It's a burst of energy that can just fry electronics over a huge area. Ambassador Henry Cooper warned it could shut down the U.S. power grid indefinitely. leading to, well, he estimated up to 90% of Americans dying within a year from the aftermath.
90%.
Yeah.
Just from the grid going down.
Lack of power, water, food distribution, medicine, sanitation, everything collapses. Richard Garwin, who wrote the first EMP paper back in '54, points to the failure of SCADA systems.
What are those?
Supervisory control and data acquisition, the computer systems that run all critical infrastructure, power, water, transport, communications. Garwin says SCADA going down becomes an instant out-of-control nightmare.
So trains crashing, elevators stuck.
Air traffic control fails. Even the backup power at America's 53 nuclear power plants eventually runs out, leading to potential meltdowns across the country. The book just lays bare how dependent we are, how fragile it all is.
So the die is cast. The president's in the bunker, the PEOC. There's this red impact clock counting down. The black book with the retaliation options is open. No going back.
And communications fail. The Secretary of Defense can't reach the Kremlin, so the Russian president, in his bunker, sees the U.S. counterattack coming. He assumes it's a decapitation strike.
Trying to take out their leadership.
Right. So his own launch on warning policy kicks in. He sends the launch codes. Over 1,000 Russian ICBMs launch, mostly at the U.S. It's full scale now.
And the book's conclusion on this is absolute, isn't it? There's no winning.
Zero winning. It's lose-lose. The book mentions a classified war game from 1983, Proud Prophet. The military ran it multiple times.
And the result?
Every single time. Complete Armageddon-like destruction.
So what's the ultimate outcome projected in the book?
The entire northern hemisphere becomes uninhabitable. Fallout. At least 500 million people die just in the initial exchange. Then almost everyone who survives starves.
Starvation.
Agriculture collapses because of nuclear winter. Rainfall drops by 50%. Any survivors are basically forced back into a hunter-gatherer existence if they survive the radiation and chaos.
A scorched earth. 1,000 American cities become 1,000 mega fires, pumping 330 billion pounds of soot into the air, blocking the sun. Nuclear winter. Erasure.
And what's really fascinating and kind of poignant is the metaphor the book uses, Göbekli Tepe.
That ancient site in Turkey.
Yeah, 12,000 years old. It was found buried under this huge man-made hill. It shows how easily an advanced civilization can just vanish, be reduced to rubble, covered up, forgotten.
Like Einstein feared. Nuclear war making us hunter-gatherers again.
Exactly. The book argues we wouldn't just be set back. We'd lose civilization itself, maybe even the memory of it.
The author sums it all up so powerfully near the end. Really sticks with you.
Nuclear war is insane. Every person I interviewed for this book knows this. Every person. The whole premise is madness. It is irrational, and yet here we are.
And the UN Secretary General's warning too. Humanity is just one misunderstanding, one miscalculation away from nuclear annihilation. The book just hammers that home. It's undeniable.
Okay. Wow. We have unpacked a truly, truly sobering book today. This isn't just some hypothetical exercise. It's a stark, minute-by-minute look at the world we inhabit, the systems in place, and the very real dangers.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, I think the book really underscores why critical thinking about all this, understanding the history, the mechanics, the consequences, it's just more vital than ever.
Right. It's about being informed, about fostering rational thought, trying to avoid those miscalculations. This deep dive and others like it you can find on our YouTube channel, Mindful Moments, uses AI book analysis precisely for that, to inspire reflection and rational thinking. We really do encourage you to check out Annie Jacobsen's book, Nuclear War, a scenario. Dig deeper, really grasp the gravity of it all.
It's an important read.
Definitely. We've put links to purchase this incredibly important book in the description below.
So please subscribe to Mindful Moments. Share this deep dive, maybe with someone who needs to hear this perspective. Empower yourself with knowledge that really matters.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, keep thinking critically about the world around you.
Yeah.
And maybe ponder that chilling question the book leaves us hanging with.
Yeah.
After nuclear war, who, if anyone, will know we were once here?